Oh, well. See if that fixes it.
Do I have the ability to set up comments here? I've seriously never done it this way before. Watch me completely screw this up. Oh man, he's live right now. Are you telling me that I'm live? Wow. Now if only I could get comments working. Huh. For those of you just tuning in, can you give me a couple minutes here while I get everything set up? Okay. Can you actually show me live right now? According to this, I'm not live. Great. The magic of streaming. Oh, wait. You hear a double echo? Thank you. From where? Oh, shoot.
Okay, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please tell me if you hear a double echo. It's the wrong mic. Oh, thank you for streaming in OBS. Okay. You can see why I don't like to regularly do streams, because actually getting this to behave, not my cup of tea. Especially right now, because it doesn't even want to show me it's live. Thanks. Why? Why? Well, if there's multiple microphones running, I'm not seeing them enabled. In fact, I physically have them disabled. So that's wonderful, unless I don't have them set to scroll. No, they're not there. There's nothing there. Constantly frustrations. Ugh, embarrassing. Unless it's actually complaining about that. No, it's not. Oh. OBS is indeed a thing. Can be quite annoying when it doesn't work, though. This is way easier when I just produce a video and push it at 9 o'clock in the morning, as opposed to, why will you not even tell me I'm live over here? Yes, I am logged in. Cool. You need the YouTube Studio app. Well, okay, let's try this here. Again, I apologize. This is the first time I've seriously tried to make an attempt at doing this when I'm not at my desk. So, different software, different hardware. Like, if I'm doing this and I'm a complete moron, don't worry. We're in agreement here. Can I at least cut away to something less embarrassing? Okay, I think what we're going to do here, instead of me having a little tiny box over here to look at for messages, I'm just going to have to stare straight at you right over here. And can I make this bigger? I sure as heck cannot. Okay, we'll work with it. All right, so what on earth are we doing here today? Well, actually, hold on. Is my audio still doubling? Okay, if it sounds fine for you, but it's the wrong mic. Okay, we're just going to go with this as is. So, what are we going to be doing here today? Well, in front of me, I have this amazing 2.5 megabyte removable hard disk system. Okay, it's feeding from your webcam. Okay, like Pink Boy, is it sounding fine to people, or is it not sounding fine? If it's not, if it's only working by the webcam, whatever. That's so weird. Okay, no, I can't work with this. All right. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Okay, YouTube, can you actually tell me what capture device you're trying to use? Are you actually exit stream? No. Okay, alright. If it's fine, we're just going to work with this. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, you spend more time testing your hardware before you get into it. So, continuing on to what we're going to be doing here today, I have tried to bring a camera in from a 45-degree angle perspective. We're going to be digging into this removable drive in an attempt to answer a couple of questions. So, if you've never seen one of these before, this is the Model 31, Model 32 from Model 31. Otherwise, these are well known as either the Series 30 or the Model 30 disk drives from Diablo Systems. Back in the early 1970s, these things were everywhere. They were relatively cheap. Okay, a few $1,000s, but still relatively cheap. There's not a whole hell of a lot of smarts in them. They hold 2.5 megabytes, and all the major computer vendors at the time were using them. So when you think about, say, Data General, the Digital Equipment Corporation, Four-Phase Systems, Surprise. But a lot of people recognize these drives because Xerox used them in the Alto. And one of the reasons I believe that Xerox was using them in the Alto was because they bought Diablo. So you might as well use the disk technology from the company you just acquired. And here you go. So, with these drives, you're not supposed to be able to do this normally. This drive is a little bit more special, and as a result, we can be a little bit more destructive to this drive. We're not clipping cables or breaking things, but this cost me $75 at VCF West just this last year, which is a great deal considering, or actually it's a fantastic deal. What exactly happened with this drive is that the original person who bought this had purchased it with a pack still loaded into the drive. And he saw that in the eBay listing and said, could you please remove the pack from the drive before you ship it? Otherwise you'll ruin the pack. Okay, fine. And there was no, like, how do I do this or anything like that. I was just, okay, I'll do that. And so he received the drive without the pack in it. But when he received it, the interlock that prevents the door from opening when there's no power didn't work. There's a lock flag that lives over here, which should not be doing that. And I think the worst of the bunch is that in a little tiny baggie rattling around inside of here, this is the ceramic head and the metal carrier assembly for said ceramic head, which makes up the upper head on this drive. So the top head is ruined on this. You load a pack into this thing, it's ruined. So he just took a couple of parts off this that he needed to go fix another drive, the top cover and the bottom covers, and just kind of moved it on. It still has plenty of good parts on it, but it also means that I can dig around and screw with one of these drives without actually ruining a good Diablo drive. I have 2 more of these drives just hidden out of view over there, and I'll be using parts off of this to complete those units. So the non-flanged door assembly here. But there's another question that came up recently, and that is, well, what do you do when you have bad bearings in the drives? The spindle motor lives deep underneath here. So I want to take that out today, but we have a goal we have to try and accomplish. If we physically remove the motor from the drive, just like if we were to adjust anything else in the head stack, we would have to realign the drive. In theory, if we leave the motor casting in there, the bearing hubs are precision machined, so they won't move around when we loosen screws off. If we can dismantle the motor and get it out of here without removing the actual motor casting, mission accomplished. And if not, oh well, it's not like this drive's not going to work again anyways. So, we have a number of things we're going to try, and I think the first one is we're going to have to try and get to this from the top. Has anybody else done this before? CuriousMarc has. He did a video a number of years ago, I think it was part 12, where he had his motor go down for bad bearings, but he never actually showed how he removed the drive, how he reinstalled the drive, or too much of the teardown. That wasn't really the point of the video. He just simply found out bad bearings, swapped the motor, and off they went. except that we don't have a replacement motor. So again, that's why we're making this video. Can we do the bearings without ruining the alignment? Now, let's take a look at the comments here that have been going on. Hello there from Swanson. So I think what we will start with, because I know what the motor stack looks like, let's get it out of the top here. To do that, we need to remove the metal cover here, and we also have to remove the plastic carrier, which, again, I don't know how to do it, so I brought a couple of tools hiding over here. And flatheads. We'll do flatheads. This actually works well for me leaning over like this because I get a closer view of the chat box. I should actually use a container for these. Good thing I got one. Oh, there's 2 more screws over there. This is nice. They actually kept a hole here so you could get down to get to these screws. There is a notable delay with the stream, watching back to everyone here. If you want me to stop on something, or if you want me to ask, or see if I can answer more questions on it, we can try. If you want me to get a close-up shot of it, unfortunately, I'm too far away from the camera to do that, but I can try and at least describe it a bit more. The service manuals for this and service documentation, yeah, that was pretty cool there, wasn't it? Go to bitsavers.org /Diablo/disc/model30, and there should be an entire directory in there of nothing but service documentations and parts diagrams for this drive. By the way, this is a good moment here to thank Al Caso for hosting Bitsavers. You are an absolutely invaluable resource for all of the documentation that you are hosting online, and I also appreciate the fact that you allow others to archive it. I love how as soon as I've taken that off, we've lost structural integrity. One of the things to keep these drives cheap was to keep these drives simple, which also means that once you start losing screws, they also become incredibly flimsy. This is indeed a beast of a hard drive. So, it seems that these, I can't necessarily say that Diablo drives are rare, until we started seeing more of like the 2-cable MFM and SD style discs in the earlier 80s, maybe the late 70s. Anyways, this here was kind of common. I've seen these used with a number of manufacturers. One of my favorites I saw earlier this year was that there was a company making a disk interface and controller for these drives on the TRS-80 Model 2. 2.5 megabytes doesn't sound like a whole hell of a lot now, but back then, that was more than enough. Okay. They are indeed. Hold on a minute here. I think I can take this metal frame off and I'll demonstrate that. Yeah, okay. And that's just aluminum. Wow, I can't believe how flexible this is. So the idea here is that Diablo used this style of pack. I think it was originally designed and styled by IBM. And it was used by Diablo. It was used by the Digital Equipment Corporation. It was used by who else was I thinking here? There was another company that was using it. But as a result, it just kind of became this standard. But these packs, are kind of special. So this one here is from Hewlett-Packard. And they decided they used the same physical external pack, but the actual platter inside of it is a little bit thicker than a regular Diablo disc pack. So if I were to put this into a good Diablo drive and load the heads, it'll crash it. Like, this one's defective for other reasons, but I wouldn't want to use that. The other thing is that normally, have you ever heard of hard sectoring in floppy disks? It's the exact same thing with Diablo packs. You can now see, because I've removed the cover here, is that there's a sensor that hides right here. And that just simply sees a disc or a ring that's been pressed into the hub of the underside of the pack with little tiny slots. And each one is the physical hardware marker of a sector on the pack. You can have between 8 and 32 sectors per pack, and that causes all sorts of compatibility issues. For example, if you have a PDP 11, I believe it's 12 sectors 12 sectors, and a PDP 8 is 16 sectors, and 4-phase is 8 sectors. So it's great. So sometimes you can get the packs, but they won't actually work with your drive. Or in the case of HP, they don't have a sector ring at all. So this is what's called a pseudo or soft sector device. These drives can handle that, but the sectoring detection marks or sensors are already in here. But to use this, you'd open it, this raises up, the pack slides in. I gotta hold that little flag down. And then there's a hinged piece of metal here, a piece of wire that grabs the front of the pack and pops the door open so it can then load in over the heads. Then you can close it, it drops it down onto the spindle, and then you would be able to spin up the drive. From that point onwards, it would spin up the drive. After about a minute, it would load the heads, which is this solenoid right over here, and then the heads are free to move in and out. And actually, this is not a voice coil drive like the RKO5 discs. This one here uses a stepper servo sort of configuration. There's actually a neat little radial dial here, so I can see exactly what track I can be on, up to track, 203? But when you're done, you just flip the switch, spin it down, it unlocks the front door. You make sure that's retracted. And then you can pop it out again. Okay, so the next thing I want to remove is actually this piece of plastic and this piece of foam. This is the other problem with these drives, actually. If you take one of these drives off of eBay, and I know there's a couple of drives on eBay right now. If they're not refurbished, they all have their original foam gaskets. There's one hiding underneath here. We'll probably be able to see it. And if that foam is crumbly and loose, like this stuff is, it'll blow into the disc pack, and it'll immediately contaminate and probably even crash the pack. So, don't just immediately plug these in and try and run them. They have to be cleaned and serviced. I must keep the structural Pikachu for rigidity. I don't have one here, unfortunately, so can we use the piece of structural pink foam instead? Just kind of wedge that in there somehow. There, it's structural. Don't worry about it. Oh, and that too. I have no documentation on how to take this off, so you're just as lost as I am when it comes to how to take this out. So do I remove it from these screws here? Yes. Okay, so there's two small screws. I guess these are eccentrics, so I don't want to take those out, but there's screws here, and it looks like there's a pair of nuts or a piece of metal underneath, so let's take that off instead. And I do love how these screws just come off. Is that a washer that drops? Nope, okay. Okay, so there is a piece of metal that holds this spring-loaded part on, and I can take that off and it separates from there. So I will take that off. I feel like I wish I could be able to spin this around in any sort of assembly, but I don't have a Lazy Susan here. Actually, I do, but I'm using it for another video, which is a whole other can of worms and rust. Okay. Which is, by the way, also, there is a notable amount of rust in here. Wherever this was last stored was open to the elements. The mice didn't get into it, though. That's nice. Okay, so that's free. That's also free. How is it hinged? Can I... Oh, okay. I think the other side has to be removed using 4 screws on the underside. Oh yeah, this is already getting unhappy. There. How have I... Carefully. So this is the other part that's missing here. There should be 2 covers. The first one covers over the plenum right here. So there's a HEPA filter that pulls in air from the front of the drive. This is the motor assembly we have to work with today. And then there's another metal panel that should go over this. No, yeah, metal panel that goes over this part here as well. And that just protects and keeps the dust out of the rest of the drive assembly. But I am after, yes, there's screws here. Now, Diablo knew what they were doing when they made this drive with that whole card cage that lifts up, because the cool thing is also, you can operate this with that card cage raised up. It's got a couple of flexible circuit boards and ribbon cables, so that allows you to do additional diagnostics and such without having to, like, spin up the drive, test something, spin down, or do whatever. You can just kind of attach various probe leads. I think that did it. Now, can I... Okay, that just drops down. What am I hung up against over here? Am I... No. Ah! Oh! I see. So hiding underneath here, there's a ground strap. Can I do this without losing that screw? Yes. I'm going to put that screw back in there for safekeeping. I need to use a longer screwdriver too, because that's getting infuriating. That's easier. Okay, so how does this... That's how it lifts out. Okay, cool. Yay! Careful the cable, and we're out. And on the underside here, I can actually see the ground strap goes to a resistor, which goes to a piece of wire, which then sticks up through the bottom of the plastic here. And I bet you that is a physical contact brush for the pack itself. So, like, there's all sorts of ESD protection built into this thing. Cool. Well, this is all dusty, so we'll take that out, and I'll just put that away. Now, this is what I was talking about regarding the foam. I'm reading the comments here, just catching up. Yeah, this little scissor lift right here. Let's get back to that. And then it just locks it in place. And I can service all the boards. The boards are actually held in with, you raise this up, it's spring-loaded, and the boards just kind of come out. So I will put that one back in, because that is not the scope of what we're doing today. But I think even with the board here on the very end, yeah, there's holes in the shield, which allow little scope leads to clip into little tiny test points. And then to retract this, lift it, push, and down it goes. So I was talking about foam, and this is the gasket here that's supposed to keep the air plenum that's being blown in from the fan into the disc platter, and this stuff is dust. Like, this is junk right here on its own right. So you would go and you would replace that. Whatever, it's fine. It'll never work again. And our goal here is to remove the motor assembly. I am going to assume that... Kosow. K-O-S-S-O-W. Great person in Silicon Valley. I do believe he works at the Computer History Museum. Software archivist, and he maintains Bitsavers. Does a good job with the curating. That's one hot take I'll actually take about the Internet Archive, is that there's a lot of, at times it does feel like the Macintosh Garden, where there's a lot of duplicate files and a lot of weird file naming and formats, but I think Bitsavers does a good job trying to sort that out and to keep it into consistent, here's documentation, if I have software, I have it here, and even if I have like flyers and ads over here, and there's a lot of other stuff which I guess he can't really curate for copyright reasons, but you gotta hand it to the guy. There's so much stuff there, you'd be like, how did you get approval for that? And he was actually behind the whole Apple Lisa source code thing a little while ago. So my respects go out to that man. So I have to take the blower off of this, and the first thing I'm seeing is that the sector and index marker sensor that I was just talking about is in the way. So that's an alignment critical object. So I can see that pin. It actually has screws and a pin for sliding. Is this... Ooh, hey, wait a minute. Now that I look at this, I think the adjustments for this are these two screws here and this spring-loaded screw here. The actual bracket that holds this assembly to the cast plate that everything else is on has two alignment pins. I think if I let those screws off, it's not going to wobble around like it's an adjustment. So, let me tilt this on its side. I love how the front's become so loose now. Can I reach that? Nope, the HEPA filter's in the way. Let's tilt this way so we can look at the HEPA filter, because I haven't really investigated this thing since I bought this drive. It's been sitting in the corner of the room over here just waiting for me to work on it. And I was like, how do I make a YouTube video on this? Ah, I know. Let's stream it. And so far it's gone gloriously. There's two captive screws here that just kind of release the clamp for the HEPA filter. This one has a date code of 1/12/78, so I think we're a little overdue on a replacement. But I'm going to pull this out. So this is the HEPA filter. This is the back side of the actual HEPA elements. And the front has this green foam, which I bet you if I touch it is going to crumble. No. Really? Huh. Is it... Oh, wow. This foam is like almost 50 years old. Okay, yeah, no, it flexes a little bit, but it's not crumbling on me. Cool, okay. So this one isn't a dirty HEPA cartridge. It actually looks like it hasn't seen too many hours. This is still very much a usable cartridge once I change the foam out on the front of this. I will put this for now here. And can I get to those screws? Yes, so there's 2 screws hiding in here. Now as I loosen that one, what happens if I wobble this? It doesn't wobble, so it is still sitting on the pin. That's one. And what happens if I loosen the other one? Do I lose my alignment? Am I screwed? I'm not. It's solidly on those 2 pins. Can I get that out of there? There. There is foam and dirt. There is garbage falling out of this drive. I should have dusted this thing before I got to this. Okay. So now that I've loosened this off, this is the sensor, and it actually sits very securely on 2 pins. That has no play in it. This one has no play this way, but it can slide that this way and this way, which means nothing because it still has this one solid pin here. So I'll move that out of the way, and now we come to the top of this. I suspect what's going to happen here is that underneath the blower, there's a set of screws that let me separate the hub for the bearings from the motor housing. Which screws do I want to remove? Let's try these ones here. Oh, it's magnetic. It's always one of the things that always weirds me out regarding these drives. Like, you would not expect a strong magnet inside of, well, a magnetic disk drive, and yet that's magnetic. All comes down to how you properly shield your magnets. You can use them close to highly sensitive data storage devices. Why is this screw so loose? Is this Loctited? No. Put that in there. And that screw's loose as well. Why are you loose? Are you trying to avoid doing a realignment because you can't, missing tools, etc., or because it's a pain in the ass? Sorry if you told us I missed that. Oh, that's fine. It's a little bit of A and a little bit of B. Like, if I were to remove the motor, I actually don't know what happens if I remove the motor, but so, like, when you do a head alignment, sure, typically that's just, you're aligned in and out. Whereas opposed to, if you unbolt this motor, there's 3 points here, and it can be in any eccentric position. I don't even want to know how you realign that. So if we can just leave that where it is, sure, so be it. Are the alignment packs difficult to get? I would say yes, but also no. I have aligned floppy disks using image disk and just a well-formatted diskette from another machine. That's not the proper way to do it, but you can dial it in pretty close. The alignment packs themselves are not necessarily strictly for these drives. I've seen someone use the alignment packs for a DEC RK05, which is a voice coil-driven head assembly, to align one of these drives. So they are kind of compatible. It's just finding alignment disks and not ruining them like CuriousMarc did. I'll give you consistent shade for that, sir. But at the end of the day, you know what you did. Yeah, it's always just tedious and annoying. Also, I'm liking this for the challenge. Like, look how much of this we've already taken apart. Because now I know exactly where to clean. Actually, I can see what's wrong with this flag. Oh! What did you do? So there's a little fork right here on for a is that a solenoid? Yes, for a solenoid. And the flag has its little peg outside of the fork, so that's why it's staying up. I think they took this apart to try and open the drive door and didn't know how to reassemble it. So that's what's going on there. And, oh, this is stuck. Oh, did I just fix it? No. So that's stuck. That's got screws that are reefed in too hard. We're not going to deal with that today. We're sticking with the motor. There's this. Oh. This one's tight. We had two loose, one tight. And that was another one that was really tight. Did I? No, I didn't damage that. It's worth pointing out, use proper screwdrivers when doing these disassemblies. This one here has a much more fat slot on the end of it as opposed to this one here. This is for more smaller, more precision screws. This one's for larger, more wide-grooved screws. So does this remove? I can feel it wobbling now. Oh. Okay, it does come off. Do I have a pen? I want to do something here. So when I take this off, I want to mark which direction this goes on. That comes off the hub. Huh. Alright, so... Oh yeah. Damn. Well, that was a waste of time. So there's the 3 bolts that hold the motor casting to the casting that makes up the deck that the head assembly and the spindle and everything is attached to for alignment purposes. I am not seeing screws to remove the top bearing hub, which means the only way to get it off is, I think, to get it from the underside. Okay, I was kind of preparing for something like this. Let me clean this up a little bit. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, so here is the top hub ring that connects to the disc pack. And underneath it, we have a precision fan. This is also really heavy. So we'll take that off. I think we are safe leaving that. Can I put one screw back in that so it doesn't bounce around? Let's see if I can just pop that there. Okay. The motor from the underside. Well, everything's trying to fall apart now. So this is the voltage input board for the motor. The motor has 4 brushes, and then we have a whole bunch of screws on top. If this is a centering plate for the hub, I'm going to assume that the outer screws here are what we want to remove to access the inside of this. Do I have... There's my Sharpie. So I'm going to take a moment to note where this cover, I'm assuming it's a cover, please be a cover, goes. And what's going to happen when I take the brushes off? Well, I know for a fact that the brushes in here, I suspect it's going to be disgusting and dirty in here because CuriousMarc's drive was the exact same way. How exactly he took it apart, I don't know. Or do I? Yeah. Why is that? What is that screw? There we go. And this last one. Is this loose yet? No. Okay, let's see how this comes off. Is it like the other one? I'm just trying to feel how this comes apart. It is really tight. But it is. If I just kind of walk it like this, I can seemingly get it to come further and further out. There we go. There we go. What am I removing here? Okay, it's got a lip. It's got a bunch of thrust bearings. There's a brush sitting... Wow! Okay. This, I don't think, is going to come across on that camera. I'm going to take that little itty-bitty brush, and I can see a spring that's living down here. I'm going to take that out as well. So this is full of brush dust. Carbon composite. This may have explained the screeching. What is this? And this is a ton of washers, and presumably oh. Rag time. Okay, for this I might actually do like a break at some point here to go outside and blow this out. But I see 2 screws. How do I don't even think this is possible. How do you get the motor out of there? You can't. We'll take those off and make a mental note that that's how they go back on. There is the lower bearing. Right here. How do I... So the issue that I'm running into right now is that the 4 brushes are there. If presumably the front bearing is more to the front, there looks to be a spacer, or the magnet itself, sorry. There's a magnet down there. Is that the magnet? Yeah, that's the magnet. There's the magnet down there, and that means I have to remove all 4 brushes. I don't know if I can do that while this is all in here. Can I take this front grill off? No. No, I don't believe that. Yes, they are an adjustment point. They are just, I can see 1, 2, 3 Allen key or hex bolts, and there is no alignment notches or marks or anything. So when you loosen those off, the motor is able to move around in any direction here, but that then directly impacts the alignment of the heads, as well as I think it makes the disc eccentric. So that's another level of alignment you never want to deal with, because, like, say you're aligning a floppy disk or a floppy drive, like, how often does the hub motor move? It never does. Like, the clamping assembly and all that is just kind of centered. How do I take you off? Try with this first. I have to take the front door on this off anyways to swap it with another one. So, learning experience there. Damn! So this is all one part of the metal of the assembly. Damn! Damn, damn, damn. How the hell am I going to reach those screws? Well, the bearing's pressed in. That's fine. This is the motor. White, white. Oh, those are white and red. Okay. Do I not have a camera? I do have a camera to take photos with. Have I painted myself into a corner? These are nicely marked red and yellow, so I can actually unplug those. How do I get the brushes out? Can I actually reach it? I can, sort of. What about from here? Yes, okay. So we will have to remove brushes. I gotta take a photo of this. Sorry, folks. Whenever you're taking something apart, always be sure to take lots of good photos. From what I see that CuriousMarc did, he just kind of unbolted and removed the motor. But the problem is that he has an alignment pack. I don't have an alignment pack. So I'm trying to figure out, can we do this while leaving the motor casting in place? Can I do a server room tour? Not right now. It's possible they had an alignment jig for this. I bet you there's also instructions in the manual, because the service manual for these drives is available on Bitsavers. And they also probably tell you how to do this, because the motor is a field replaceable part. That's what blows my mind, thinking that, oh yeah, your hard drive motor is bad. Yeah, we'll have another one installed for you. There we go. I'm going to start putting screws over here. Yay, this becomes even more of a mess. Okay, so you're yellow, red, red, yellow. So these are just inductors for the motor. I'll put that there, and that gives us the motor. Use a bad disk pack. Make a jig from a bad disk pack. Well, the thing is that you have to align to data on that. I think I see what you're trying to say here. The point of the alignment is not so much mechanical for the heads, but also like for the data that's recorded onto the packs. Like if the motor is mounted too far that direction, none of the tracks are going to line up correctly. Is that azimuth? Huh. I've never really looked into alignment. So, what size is this? That looks like a 1/2 inch. Do you have a bearing puller that will fit where it is? No. I don't have bearing pullers for something like this. I think that's more something. Does that break? Yeah, those are just brush caps. I think that's something more once, like, if it comes out on the rotor, then we can play with this away from the drive and not have to worry about, like, risk of damaging or bending the frames or malleolating anything. But really, all I'm trying to do today is just to see, can we remove the bearings or access the bearings, not so much remove them, without removing the motor casting. And I think this feels like a bush cap. Yeah, that's a brush cap. That's a spring. Still a lot of life in these too. Yeah, I think the same thing. It can't be that precise. I mean, where'd I put that pack? 2.5 megabytes. I believe it's like 1100 bits per inch. The density on this disk is ridiculously low. Like, we're finally getting to a point here where you can start dialing things in, not so much by eye, but like just by loosening a screw and nudging the heads to where you need them to be. But we're still precision enough that when you tighten the screw down, it will cause the alignment to drift again a little bit. Oh, and I just lost that cap. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, all these brushes look great. So that's out. What is that play? Is that just play in the top bearing? Hey, ooh, it moves. Ooh, okay, that's good. So we do just need to get the plastic housings for the brushes out, and I think we can pull out the rotor. Motor with access holes for the motor housing. Maybe. Can I twist that out? Yes, I can. Ooh, okay. So I'm going to keep that in place, but now I can access the screws. These are Loctited in. Oh, let's not mar these up. Can I? Man, you're going to make this hard for me. Let's not mark these up. Yeah, if that's actually play in the bearing, like, I have no shame taking this thing apart because it had to be done in some degree anyways. Okay, so if I go at these flathead screws from an angle, I'm going to completely screw these up, aren't I? Can I get this one loose? No. I'm going to try something, but I have to go get some more tools. So if you guys can sit tight for about 2 minutes, I'll be right back. That over there. That over there. Of course, don't have flatheads in there. Nothing like keeping your tools scattered in every conceivable direction in a house. if any of you are wondering what's with the whole thing, so it's if you've ever heard of the YouTube channel Hater's Garage, he has one particular scene where he just kind of like looks at his poor car after his like shed blew over in a windstorm and took out one of his windows, and he's just like followed by some very colorful language, to which I would agree, yeah, I would be mad about that too. Can I... That should work. Can I fit this in here? No. Oh, God. Can I at least turn it? This is going nowhere. I need longer. See, I'm already getting covered in brush dust. Hey, that works well. Yeah, that's got Loctite on it. Or whatever the 70s equivalent is. That, on the other hand, is not going to come out. Damn. No, that's not going to work. The main issue I'm dealing with is the casting around here. Is... The heck are you from? Yay, I love it when I find random washers. Is that I can't get in directly into the screws that are holding these plastic brush housings in. And the brush housings are just long enough that they go in front of the rotor. So I can't lift this out right now without removing those. And like, it's just really awkward. It's almost like they're expecting you to remove the motor from this thing. And I don't want to take the damn motor out. I think by the end of this video here, if we're like stuck for like 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, and we can't like figure out how to get these screws out without causing nothing but a mess, I'm just going to say the hell with it. Like, this drive is never going to work again. Or at least if it does, I'm going to hand it to someone to do that alignment, because I don't want to do that. Ever. So that loosens those off. Are they all this bad? Is the motor housing solid? Can you remove the upper half? Unfortunately, the upper half does not have the... There is no bearing hub where it's screwed in conveniently like this. It's like everything has to go in from the bottom, and then it's assembled. I can't remove this here, so I can't go straight in that way. I don't even know how I'm going to get in this way, because this is all cast. This is all one giant casting right here. Hey there, how's How's it going, Salam? We are trying to do some stupid exploratory surgery in a Diablo drive. Ah, and I'm dropping screws. There you are. Let's put you there. It's the same stupid problem that we got into on this side. I can't get that screw out. At least not with this. Nope, that just cams out. There's gotta be an easy way to do this. And at least do... Oh, I can do that on this one. Can I on that one? No! Because there's a casting in the way. Damn it, Diablo. You almost had it. So I think with, like, each of these, I can only get one screw out. The other is blocked by some stupid design consideration. But then again, is it really a stupid design consideration when you're supposed to take the motor out? We're going to keep circling around that one. Can you turn it a quarter to the left? I can't rotate this, unfortunately. It's held in with these 4 bolts. We can't remove those. I feel like if I just go with a little tiny wrench and just put it in here, that'll fit. I don't surprisingly have that little wrench. So there's 4 of those. There's still 4 more to go. How? Why? What am I doing? Is there anything I can get in that way? It's just not enough space. Can I turn it? This is where things turn to desperation. Where's a wrench? Kids, don't do this with your regular tools. Nope. It just keeps camming out. Right angle driver, difficult to apply force easily. Yeah, can you... No. Yeah. It's like a riddle. Remove these ones? No. How do I do this? Nope. Okay, what is this attached to? A bajillion screws. I feel like the whole machine will fall apart if I take this off. Indeed it will. I don't want to mutilate this because I want to keep that. Okay, yeah, I agree with the tiny wrench thing. If you could hold on for another 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to go see if I can dig through my stash of tiny wrenches and hopefully find something that works. One moment, please. Gonna keep those there for intimidation. No, the smallest wrench I have is a 7mm, and it's just oh so slightly too large, I think. Oh, that would work so well if I had something. This is all about brainstorming. Diablo. Quarter-inch box wrench, wouldn't it be? If it's a quarter-inch, I don't think I have anything that small. No, I do not. Closest I got is 7/16. Man, I was really ill-prepared for this. Maybe. I'm going to have to seriously go digging through some tools to double-check something. I might have us one or two wrenches from the 80s that will work. Alright, technical difficulties. Please stand by. Who was it who said quarter-inch again here? Pariso 11? You are correct. Let's give this a try. Can you get replacement brush housings? No. Everything Diablo related has been out of production now for decades. Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, I don't have a little ratchet on this here, but this works. Yeah, if you could get one of these little wrenches that take a regular bit, but they have a ratchet on them, I've seen them. Get them. For really tight stuff like what we're doing right now, that's a great use for them. Yeah, sorry about that. I thought about this late last night, Joel, and was like, do I want to make a video out of this? Like, I was going to try and use a better camera for this today. And I spent a good chunk of the morning, and it didn't work, so I just told everyone around 9 or 10 o'clock my time that I was going to do a video stream. And even when we started this, things did not work out all that great. Man, it's this Loctite that's really fighting me here. Once I overcome that, I think I can hit it with the screwdriver. Do I want to apply heat to the Loctite? No. Can I... This works. It's very time consuming. Can I actually get in there now that I've, like, cracked the threads? Yes! I am sure there is some sort of a magical tool to deal with these absolutely BS. Like, oh, my screw is at like a 30-degree angle to the screw. In my opinion, I call flathead screws Farmer Tom screws. So there we go. That's one. We got one out. What's actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to actually call this Loctite, because normally I'm expecting it to be like green, blue, or red. This is white. And I do apologize if you cannot see what I'm doing here. Replace them with Robertson screws. I'd love to do that, but these are countersunk machine screws. This is just really unpleasant. I just keep wanting to get into that now. Yes, I can. Good. Have you ever been somewhere where you got incredibly frustrated but you couldn't swear because it was a public space? I feel like YouTube can be like that at times. Like, I would love to say some amazing language right now every time I slip the screwdriver off, but I can't. This is just... definitely not the manufacturer recommended way to do this. Does it fall under the thread scheme name? Maybe? No. I'm going to say no. And that's the second one out. 2 down, 2 to go. Now, before I go any further, is the position of these important? I would say no. There's just... Okay, now these stupid ones. Actually, this one's not too bad because I can just wedge my thumb against the casting post here. Unless the bit wants to fall out. There we go. Maybe this is going to require like some of Honda's stupid adjustment tools. I was told by a friend at one time he had to go and adjust the carburetor on his Honda Elite. And it's like, sure, like you have to reach the adjustment screw on the carburetor, but you have to do it under these like certain like static conditions where like it's on the ground, like the panels are on, and you can't reach the actual screw. So I think it's like this U-shaped tool to just kind of like turn it. And I feel like Oh yeah, I can turn that by hand. I feel like that would be the case here as well. That's another one. Okay. I think we got this. We got this. Thank you for the recommendation on the little tiny 1/4-inch wrench. And thank you to my father for holding on to the stupid little tool set for the last 30... This wrench has existed in the family for longer than I've existed. I don't know why he didn't throw this or the other ones out after how many of these I, ruined as a child. Okay, this one's just stubborn because it's in a dumb spot. That and I have fat fingers. Nope, wrong way. And it's turning. We got this. We got this. Yes! We got this in all of our low quality video tinny audio fashion. It's out. I can turn it by hand. Okay. So that's that. Now we're back to the motor itself. Can I just pull this out? That would be nice. No! Okay, so now I got to remove the magnet. That looks to be 2 Phillips screws. At any time here, I am expecting to run into, a pressed housing and just say game over. Yes, we got it. It's out. Let me just work it past the magnet. Holy shit. My hands are covered in carbon, graphite, whatever the hell you want to make the composition out of brushes out of. This is gross. Okay, so we did it. Is that the bearing there? That is the bearing right there. So I can actually set that off to the side. And I got more screws. Is there a spacer? Is there anything here? Can you excuse me for a minute? What I'm going to do, because this is disgusting, I am going to just pick up the drive. I'm going to take it outside. I'm going to blow it out with compressed air. Or maybe use a vacuum on it and just kind of get this out of here before I try and move the rest of this. Everything's falling apart. Okay. Don't go away! Get some snacks or something! I'll be back! Okay, no, genuinely, if you are like waiting for me to come back here, like this is your chance to go have a 5-minute break, go have a bathroom break, or have a snack or something like that while I clean this up, and we'll be right back. As I don't want any of this staining the table. That's the big thing. Okay, where was I? Right. Thought about this while I was cleaning this out. T-O-P. So I could pull the magnet out of there. Okay, so that's a permanent magnet. And I've marked it as top. It's made by MagTech. And here is our rotor. There's our rear bearing, which is definitely pressed on, but it doesn't feel like crap. So let's move back to the drive, which is also now significantly lighter. Stains in the table are character. It's like the marks in Big Clive's bench. That's very much true. Hence why I don't keep this table absolutely perfect. But if there's one thing I hate, it's like grease or graphite on this table because it transfers to everything. So we had 4 screws. Is this magnetic? It is not. Hey, cool, I can see part numbers. Are there screws? No, there isn't. Well, wait a minute. Are those the 4 screws that I can see? I'm going to feel here. Yes. So these 4 screws that are buried deep inside here are the 4 screw holes that we saw earlier on from the top side. So yeah, we're just about there. You. we go any further, let's mark locations. That's going to require tweezers. And I'm just reading through the comments here because apparently I was so busy. Could you use a hot air gun for soldering or a heat gun? Could I have to read that one again. Could you use a hot air gun for soldering or a heat gun? I've used heat guns for like stripping paint for very, very, very ghetto desoldering. I've never actually used them for soldering. Okay. Oh, no. Is there a... Nope, there's no spring there. Morbid thought right now. If I don't torque these screws correctly, the screw falls apart in the middle of the motor. I'm sure it's fine. So this is a spacer, or is it a bearing retainer? I don't know. But I can just... That comes out. There's our bearing. Is that pressed in? It is. It's also very stiff. So I'm looking at this bearing right here. That has a lot of up-down play. Can I whack that out with a hammer? How pressed in is this? I think I grabbed me... I did. Yeah. By the way, I'm using a piece of wood. Never, ever, ever use a steel draft. I don't even know if a brass draft is a good idea here. And it's out. We did it! I was not expecting that. So... mark the top on that. So who manufactures this bearing? FAFNIR. Get your notepads out, kids, if you want to know the top bearing on a Diablo 30 drive. FAFNIR. Part number M9106PP. And that's your upper bearing. Yeah, no, I can feel this is... Okay. So then what about this bearing? This one's going to be pressed in. This one I'm not going to try and force off, but I do want to get the numbers off this. At the conclusion of this video as well, I'm going to post these on Blue Sky, so you can also go there. These are made by Nachi. N-A-C-H-I. Part number is 6001NK. So those are your two bearings. If you ever want to go into a Diablo drive and change the bearings out, it looks like the lower rear bearing is pressed onto the rotor. but the upper front bearing, it looks like it's pressed into the casting. It's loosely pressed into the casting. So you can, going with a hammer and a wooden drift, once you disassemble the unit up to that point, you can remove both bearings, and there you go. Reinstallation. I'm not sure how you would remove this one, much less press it back in. But this one, just put it back. We'll do it now, actually. Let's reassemble the unit. Or do I want to clean this? Let's see how easy this bearing is, and then I'm going to knock it back out again, because I want to clean this up a little bit. Do I have... I'm not going to use any grease. I might want to use a bigger block of wood. So there's our bearing. There's our hammer. So if I drop that back down in there again. Ooh. That is a very tight fit, actually. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes me nervous. That's going to require a bigger piece of wood for me to drive that back in there, so I can drive it in straight and true. But, okay, so, what have we learned here today? To get at the bearings inside of the motor casting of a Diablo Series 30 Model 30 drive, if you do not want to remove the motor itself and ruin the alignment of the drive, you will have to take off the front blower assembly in order for us to release this. And then you will have to flip the drive over and disassemble it from the underside, and then eventually, yes, you can completely dismantle the motor, get the bearings out, or get the front bearing out without requiring any special pullers or tools. The part numbers are on the bearings, so they shouldn't be that difficult to find substitutes for. And I didn't see anything while taking this apart that would say that it would need like a special alignment jig, spacers, or tools to put it back together. The only thing that's going to be a complete pain is just putting in the 2 screws for these black plastic brush retainers that go around here. But the alignment of these aren't critical. I just have to fight around some really annoying spots in here. Are there any other questions while I have this thing apart, by the way? Okay. Nothing. Use a socket. Maybe. I might actually have a socket this size. How much play is there when you remove the motor mounting screws? A lot. Like, when you loosen these, presumably the whole thing will move around by 1/8 of an inch. They released Diablo 30. I didn't really play Diablo 1. Yeah, no, I'm the same way when it comes to Windows 98. Like, you guys are complaining about Windows 11. I've been on 98 now for almost 30 years. I don't know if I want to do a reassembly, because I now want to go and do some time researching these bearings. If I press them back all into there, I'm going to have to push them all apart again outside of the video. I think... Yeah, no, I've done that too, where I've had to use a socket to knock them back in. A good example there is, I'm going to deviate away from the Diablo here to talk about the Eagle. So if you ever have to change your upper spring perch bushings, like there's two ways you can do it. One is that you heat them up and you burn out the rubber bushings that are in there. And I believe the carriage bushings for the rear shackles will slide in there, and you can use those. Or what else you can also use is that there's these very expensive re-greasable bushings that you can get installed, and they have to be welded in. And what I found is that, I don't know why you put a Zerg fitting onto these bearings when they're sealed bearings. So what happened is that I went to go grease them, and I hydraulically forced the bearings out of the sides of the new perch bushing. So I had to then go with a socket driver and then just kind of hammer those back in. The same went over with the rollover check valve on the fuel system in the Eagle. Those are no longer available, and it's funny enough that if you want to replace the rollover valve, a DeLorean part is the recommended replacement. But I ended up just taking mine completely apart, which is just kind of pressed together. And when I pressed it back together again, I just used a socket. It's not unheard of. But what socket's this big? Yeah, this is when things start to get fancy for me. I might have one. I think this is the size of the axle hub nut on the front of the Eagle. Okay, I think what we're going to do here is that as much as I want to drag this video on for a little bit longer, we've accomplished exactly what I wanted to do. It didn't take too much effort aside from the screws on the brush retainers. That was the only big one. And like we saw here, everything, well, I mean, with the exception of the front bearing here, which if I can I just kind of press that back in there? Yeah, with the exception of the front bearing here being loose, like everything seems nice and tight. And when I put this all back together, it should all just still be in alignment, and we'll have no problem at all. All right. I have no idea how to end this video. Okay, yeah, no. We're going to end this here. For everybody who was watching this here, thank you very much. For those of you who were late to this video, I do apologize. Like the first 10 minutes of the stream was kind of a majority of technical difficulties. If the audio is subpar, I apologize. We were trying to get that tweaked out here, but wasn't expecting this video to work at all. So, cool. I'll just have to make improvements on it next time and talk to a couple of people if I finally start responding to the messages that are being spammed to me. I think someone watching the stream right now is also texting me saying, like, fix this, fix this. You can't do that while you're streaming. It just kind of takes away from what you're trying to do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this teardown. I hope there was some insightful information. The part numbers for the bearings I'm going to put up on Blue Sky here pretty quickly. And also just a friendly reminder that December of every year, up until December 20th, you get your opportunity to ask me questions, and I'll answer them on my year-end review. For those there, go to cgs_info@cellgen.org. Or if you want to DM me, message me in Blue Sky, or one of those there, I'll kind of tuck those away, and I'll try and answer those questions. The top 20 questions that are asked of me, I will answer. And until next time, have a good one. As I click the end stream button. Oh yeah, that's what that button does.